Hello and welcome to this tutorial on the Reclaimer Pelican flying. This is a trick done in co-op on easy and legendary as well as Acrophobia solo. Now a few things about this tutorial real quick. I'm going to have a link in the description with all of the required triggers and zone sets. So if you have HCM, you can go down to these filter trigger by name setting, edit filter name whitelist, and copy and paste all the triggers that I have in the description in the text file. Then you can just set to exact match filter triggers by name, and you will be good to go once you enable triggers like that. Second of all, I'm not going to show how to do the head jump here at the start for this trigger, or how to actually grab the Pelican. In co-op, it's easy enough. Once you break out of bounds and you're no longer in the soft kill barrier, then you have one player get into one of the passenger seats, another player at the front of the Pelican, turned around, facing towards the tail, and while looking parallel or looking straight forward, you hold enter. Now, after you get to about the 50-second point, the pilot will deload, and then you will pilot the Pelican. At this point, your co-op partner needs to get out of the seat, and they will kind of be sucked out and die. Okay, so starting with the actual trick, you're going to go here, and you need to get over this trigger, so you'll do a head jump to get over. Nothing too special here. But once that co-op partner gets here and your third player or fourth player or whatnot is on top of their head, you're going to hit this trigger, which spawns in the Pelican, and they'll be able to just do a quick head jump into there. So the first required trigger that we actually need to hit in the Pelican is right here. So this is where you kind of trigger the mammoth. And what this does is it allows for player 1 to get the jetpack. Now I recommend player 4 going to this position, or whoever has the worst connection. And then you just need to wait here, because there's going to be various checks within this trigger, and this triggers additional dialogue, and this additional dialogue allows for you to get a dialogue skip, which is not possible in solo for Acrophobia, and it saves about 15 seconds. Huge time save for this trick. So just have a player sit here, and then they'll just need to die, or they can just sit here. It doesn't really matter. Okay, now once we have the Pelican out of bounds, we will start with the triggers for that. So everything you see on here is required triggers and load zones. There's a lot, and that's what makes this trick kind of difficult. Now, right here, we just barely grab the Pelican. As soon as you grab it, you do not want to boost right away. You want to hold spacebar or your raise for the vehicle for roughly half a second. This makes it so you do not hit this load zone. Get to the crash site and retrieve that target designator. So you need to be roughly this high to not trigger this load zone early, because if you do, then you're stuck out of bounds, you can't go back in, and run is dead, or you have to revert. So make sure you go high enough. I suggest kind of going slightly lower than this rock. And then you're going to stay high up until you pass over these rocks right here, and then you can go down and hit this load zone. So right there, we hit the load zone. Now we can proceed forward. At this point, you likely will want to spawn in your co-op partners, but you're actually on a timer now if you want to hit all the dialogue skips. So you need to be really fast. You need to go from this trigger and immediately go to here and spawn in this Phantom. Then you're going to shoot 3 to 4 lasers into this AA gun while holding backwards to hit that trigger that you missed. At this point, okay, and then once the animation stops, that's how you know the AA gun is dead. And at this point, you want your co-op partners to be spawned in and awaiting at roughly this point on the ground right here. They can be a little bit forward if they want to right there. This is for a trigger coming up after the AA gun is deloaded. I'm just going to kill a few of these guys real quick. No enemy kills are required, but I do recommend on Legendary that you at least kill the Phantom and the Wraith. It just makes getting runs a little bit more consistent. Now this is the next required trigger. You're going to hit it no matter what to get the target locator. And I will say you don't need to hit this right away. You have 6 seconds from when the objective marker pops up in order to get it without losing time. Now after these 6 seconds, the AA gun will deload. A few nuances to this. In co-op, you can grab this and get right back into the Pelican, but in solo Acrophobia, you need to wait those full 6 seconds outside of the Pelican for it to deload. There at least needs to be one player outside of the Pelican to progress the mission. Now co-op, once that gun deloads, you're on a timer for the next trigger to load in. And so as soon as that objective marker pops up, going back a little bit, you're going to have your co-op partners run from there all the way to the water to die. All players in this section need to be dead while the Pelican driver is in the air. This allows for the next 2 triggers to be spawned in on time. Quick little nuance for Acrophobia solo. If you're going fast, which you likely will be, you'll need to hit this trigger right here at 38 River. But in co-op, that trigger is not required because of the players running to the water. Okay, so going back to the target locator, as soon as you grab that as the Pelican driver, you're going to immediately fly up to the roof. And then once you hit the roof, you're going to fly forward into this area right here. I recommend waiting roughly this spot right here. Now, as you can see, I hit the top trigger, but this bottom trigger will not spawn until after Lasky says, that's it, Chief, or whatever that dialogue is. But as soon as Lasky says the word Chief is when you're safe to go. This is going to be roughly 6 to 7 seconds after your co-op partners die. If they do not die, it will not trigger on time, and if they die too early, it will be 5 seconds delayed. So instead of being those 6 to 7 seconds, it can be 11 to 12 seconds. That's why it's very important that they die on time and that they're actually dead. Because if this trigger doesn't spawn and you hit these next triggers early, then run is dead and you cannot progress, because all triggers need to be hit in order, and if any are hit out of order, you are unable to progress the mission. Okay, after that trigger has been hit, you need to avoid this load zone. So the way I recommend doing this is you kind of start falling down, and then once you're past these rocks, you can go down all the way. Okay, so for this next area, as you can see, there's a ton of load zones and triggers that need to be hit, which makes it pretty sketchy in an actual run. So what I do here is there's these 2 white dots, and this second white dot with the black marker, I like to line up the tip of my wing with it. So we will go kind of like right there. Now, if you're touching right here on the ground with your wing, your co-op partners will spawn in. Now, you typically don't want to do this in an IL setting, but if you are in a full game run, I recommend doing this, spawning them in to get a checkpoint. As soon as you get that checkpoint, they need to die, or else you can't do the next part of the level fast enough. So yeah. So once you line up there, you need to go up a little bit, and then you're going to line up with this kind of dark line area right here. I'm going to grab a checkpoint. Now, as you can see here, we're going to proceed forward, and we're going to hit each trigger. And you can see these ones are a little bit out of place, so we're going to actually move to the side for these, and I'll show you that lineup here in a second. But just for an example here, we're cutting it very close to those 2 trigger volumes, so it's very important that you line up correctly before attempting this. Now, my timing for the turn here is once you pass the self-kill barrier, after just a little bit of time, you're going to turn right, and then you're going to line up this side of the mountain with that point right there. At that point, you've hit all the triggers. Now, a visual indicator to know that you've hit them is these grunts will spawn here. So if you have no enemy spawns, but vehicle spawns, that means you missed this second trigger. And if you have no vehicle spawns or enemy spawns, that means the run is dead, essentially. You missed that previous trigger that you have to wait 6 seconds for. So after we pass the soft kill, we go over here, kind of go into this corner, go over there. Now we're going to proceed forward right here, and then we need to, after we get to this rock right here, because there's this trigger right here, where we need to go up and over. We need to go up and over quite high because of this volume set right here, which if you hit it too early, you can't really finish the mission because you don't have the target locator. So we're going to go up and over, and then we're going to go over to this rock right here. You're going to set your nose on the ground to spawn in your co-op partners. Now as you do this, you're going to get that dialogue, and that's because of this larger trigger volume is going to do a check. Now at this point you can technically do the safer strat, which essentially, I'll go over real quick. Once your co-op partners land here, they will jump down and wait on this rock right here. One person's going to wait in this corner, and 2 other players are going to wait right here. As soon as the gun dies, which I'll go over in a second, the 2 players right here will jump off and jump into the void right here. And the person over in this corner will run towards the zone set, which looks like this. Okay. And at this point, when those 2 players jump over, they will be able to grab this hog. Now, as you can see, because of that previous Cortana trigger that we hit, that actually destroys all of the cores. So then you're going to get the player that hit the load zone before, and then the 2 players who jump towards the hog will go this way. Then 2 players will be dropped off at roughly this point, and that will be to grab these 2 ghosts. Now you grab 1 ghost to do the lich skip, which is seen in a previous Reclaimer co-op record, which I will link in a card in the top right, and the other one is to be able to do the gap jump after kind of after the lich area, and then if a 3rd player wants a ghost, you can always grab this one and just run up to the side. Okay, so let's go back to this person. So back to the Pelican flying. For easy strats, you'll drop off the player here. Your people will drop down. Just be very careful that they don't hit the zone set. And then you need to drop down roughly to like a little bit above the ground here, and kind of parallel with this part pretty close, and that loads in the AA gun. Just to see the trigger, it's right there. It's quite long, but you want to load it in fast. That's why you kind of drop down. Just be careful not to drop down too low, because if you drop down below there, you actually get stuck in this rock, and that kills you. So just be careful of that. Now the lineup for this next part is I like to line up with this small rock and boost forward roughly until on the side of my screen I pass the arms. So let's go like to right there. And the reason we do this is because of these 2 random zone sets out in the void. If you hit them, they'll deload you and run dead. So you need to go around them. As soon as I kind of pass the arms and get to like the front body of the AA gun, kind of like that, I turn and stop boosting immediately. Because as soon as my Pelican starts to deload, which is right there, the gun will become active. So then you put 3 to 4 lasers into it, alternating between the machine gun, and that will kill it. And at that point, your co-op partner can load in the mission and continue with the level. Now for the most like competitive way to do this, I think it's an easier way as well, and it's quite a bit faster. You're going to have, instead of a co-op partner waiting at the edge right there, when they load in, you want the host to get into the back of the Pelican. So you're just going to wait like this until they get into the back seat. They can just enter, no big deal. And you're going to go down and hit this volume again. Then you need to line up on the same kind of level as this objective marker, like that. And you need to hit every single one of these triggers. Now, it looks pretty easy because they're quite large, but you need to take it kind of specific routes. That way you can avoid these trigger volumes. So I recommend kind of aiming for this bright patch, and you're going to listen to those pings. You want to hear 3, and then that 4th one once you hit the objective marker. Now you can get away with just 3 pings, but you know you hit everything correctly when you hear those 4 pings. Now once you hit that objective marker, you want to stop immediately because the zone set's fairly close and you don't want to hit it. Then you're going to aim for this top rock, and I'm going to turn on 2D info. At this point, you'll have PanCam on, and we're going to look at our position, that third marker over that says plus 36. We need to go up to plus 90. Now this is to bypass this lower trigger volume. I prefer 90 because it just gives you a little bit of leniency where you can hold forward while holding up at the same time, and you don't have to wait so long in one spot. Now we're going to look at our position, our X position, which is the first one that says negative 267. We're going to want to go to negative 130 roughly. So let's do that. Roughly right there. Our Pelican will deload. And just for reference, this is where we're at right now. Now while we're doing this, there is another coordinate we need to look out for. So you see that third one, that second one over, the negative 385, you want that to be negative 380. Now anything greater than negative 385 will actually cause you to deload when you're trying to go to the necessary position in the next part. Anything negative 190 or over is a 100% deload. Okay, now that we're here, we can drop down a little bit to the plus 80. Roughly right there is something I'm comfortable with. Then we're going to turn, and we're going to aim for this tall rock right here. And we're going to go to the first coordinate, negative 145 to 150. You do not want to hit any triggers below, or you will soft lock. So negative 150. This puts you at negative 190 roughly for your second coordinate. And then at this point, you tell your co-op partner to load you in, and this next area will load in. You will just fall. You will not have a jetpack at this point, and you will teleport them once you hit the load zone below. And then at this point, the level will progress, the lich will load in, and the host who was in your back seat will be able to do a jetpack cycle over to the lich and destroy it with a grenade. So just to quickly show you what it looks like if you hit these triggers too early. So we get the escape the ship dialogue. It thinks that the lich is dead, but since it's not loaded, it can't die. And at this point, the level is soft locked, and you've got to revert checkpoint. So I hope that this helps. If you have any questions, please let me know. And of course, check the description for the trigger volumes. Thank you.